Okay, so let's get the show on the road. Welcome to the Video Game Show, episode 224. I'm Chad, and joining me this week is Ivan.
Yo.
And Phil.
Hello.
Okay, so World of Warcraft Cataclysm came out
Tuesday,
and I'm assuming at least Ivan here, you played it like 24/7, right?
not 24/7, but quite a bit.
And Phil, 24/7?
No, not really, but I am 84 out of 50 or 85 levels.
And how far are you, Ivan, from 85?
My hunter has been 85 since Tuesday, or Wednesday night.
It took you a day to go to 5 levels?
Let me see here. Let's see. Today is the 3rd day. It came out on the 7th, Thursday.
That sounds about right.
So it was about 3 days total, because I started about 9 o'clock on Tuesday and played until very early in the morning Wednesday. Went to bed, got up around 10 o'clock, played till the wee hours of Thursday, and then sometime Thursday, because my achievement says it was December 9th. It doesn't tell me the time, so I don't really remember.
So now, the actual Cataclysm content was accessible even without the expansion, when they destroyed the world.
Negative. Some of the changes to the terrain were made. Some of the changes to the class changes and mechanics and things were made, but not the, quote, features of Cataclysm.
Yeah, so what exactly do you get with the expansion, like besides the new races, and what in terms of actual content that everyone can see you get?
Well, before Cataclysm, you were actually able... Were you able to race change? I don't remember now. Well, with the...
Yeah, you could race and faction change before.
Before. With the expansion, you could create new Worgen and Goblin and do the new starting areas. The new starting areas were not open before the expansion came out. You were unable to level any of your professions beyond 450, which was Wrath expansion. All of the new dungeons, raids, that kind of stuff was all, quote, unlocked with Cataclysm.
They added some new features to leveling. In addition to leveling your character, you also can level your guild and unlock guild perks when you level your guild.
Are those like buff bonuses, or are they...
There's a bunch of different ones, like 5% to experience, 10% speed boost while mounted, that kind of stuff. Some of the later ones are cooler. There's one that does a raid-wide resurrection. So if you're 25 people are raiding and you wipe the raid and everybody's dead, you used to have to resurrect back at the graveyard, fly back in, and then walk back to where you died. There is I think it's the last guild perk is raid-wide resurrection, so you can res your entire raid right where you're standing.
Yeah, I think that's level 25, which is the cap. And then there's another pretty cool one where you can do a raid-wide summon to a warlock, I believe, or somebody that's casting that.
Yeah, so again, beforehand, you used to have to... So if you're raiding at place X, everyone would have to make their way to place X by flying, or by having 2 or 3 people fly out there and individually summon each person. This guild perk will summon everybody all at once to the place. So it just kind of speeds up the biggest issues with running a raid is just managing that many people, because everyone, someone's got to take a bio break, someone's got to get some food, someone's kid's crying, someone's late, that kind of stuff. They also have unlocked flying in the old world being the original 2 continents of World of Warcraft. You hadn't been able to fly there until the expansion was released.
Okay, so you've told me all the things that it's brought to the table. What do you think of it? I mean, is it good?
It's very good. Oh, it's very good. The new zones are a lot of fun. There's 2 starting areas. One of them is very druidy, and I haven't really done yet. The other one is completely underwater, so it's 3 dimensions, meaning In like World of Warcraft, you can move forward and backward, and you can jump. In the underwater level, you can also move up and down. So it's 3 axes of movement, which adds some complications, but is done well.
Another thing that they're adding is I guess they're enforcing more of the gear quality before you can progress into raiding. So usually you have to have X quality gear to get into a dungeon. Then you've got to do those dungeons so often to get a little bit better. So you go from your green and blue equipment to all blue equipment. So then once you get all that, then you can get into the heroic mode, which will start dropping some of the purple stuff. So then once you get into the purple stuff, then they'll finally let you start doing the raids.
Kind of. Not to correct you, Phil, but that's not exactly.
Is it not what they're doing with the raids? At least it's what they're doing with the heroics.
Though World of Warcraft is like a lot of most other Blizzard games. It's all kind of gear based. Everybody's after better gear. So every piece of gear has what they call an item level associated with it, and the lower stuff for levels below 80, have an item level of X, and the highest level stuff is like 346 or something like that. In order to get into dungeons, you have to have a combined item level of a specific number, and I don't remember what that specific number is. And what that is basically is an average of all of the items that you are wearing combined. So in order to get into heroics, you have to have a certain level to progress. Basically, the way it works out is you have white level, green level, blue level, and purple level gear, and basically it's just all associated with a certain item level. In order to get into heroics, you have to have all like Cataclysm green stuff. In order to get into heroics, you have to have all blue stuff. And heroics drop better blue stuff. You actually don't get purple stuff, the highest level stuff, until you start raiding. Now, from what I understand, there actually is not a requirement to get into a raid. However, if you don't have heroic dungeon level gear, you're going to have an extremely difficult time actually doing anything. And the reason I said that is because one of the top tier raiding guilds in all of World of Warcraft are 11 out of 12 bosses complete in the first raid that is open, and they got that like by Thursday night or something like that. So basically what they did is they all logged in, they all leveled to 85, they all power leveled, and then they started raiding right away. And these are the guys that, raid 7 days a week, 6 hours a day. And in some cases, some of these guilds are actually sponsored by places. I don't know for sure, but some place like IGN or somebody would sponsor a guild and essentially give them. I don't know if IGN sponsors anyone, but that's what I mean. Some guilds are actually sponsored by people, so that they get these world firsts, like world first raid complete, and the entire universe of people who play World of Warcraft hear about it. So that's they actually get sponsoring deals for that. But like I said, in order to get into heroics, you actually have to have a certain level gear. It won't even let you in. If you try and get into a heroic without a certain level gear, it will say you are not appropriately geared to get in. But I don't think that's true with raids. But like I said, if you're not well geared or a professional World of Warcraft player, you're going to have a impossible time actually completing it. The heroic dungeons, for example, are completely different than Wrath of the Lich King. Wrath of the Lich King stuff was all tight packs of mobs, like 5, 6, up to 10 packs of mobs, and basically all you did is do area of effect everyone did area of effect spells to burn them all down and kill them, and you did that until you got to a boss. In Cataclysm, the packs of mobs, the bad guys, are smaller, anywhere from 2 to like 5, and if you don't crowd control with like freezing traps or abilities that turn them into docile sheep, you're all gonna die. So it's a lot slower. For example, one of the things I was doing is when I got home, it was about 5 o'clock. I logged in about 5, and by 10 after, a couple of my guildmates asked me if I wanted to run a heroic. So I said sure, because I figured I'd have enough time before we started recording. We didn't finish until probably 20 to 8. So it took 2.5 hours to run one dungeon, where in Wrath of the Lich King, at least towards the end of the expansion, like, a couple months ago, you were running heroic dungeons and you were in and out in 15-20 minutes. So they've slowed it down by making the monsters in these dungeons a lot more powerful, a lot harder to kill, with a lot more health. And if you don't use some crowd control on them, you're just going to keep dying. So it's not like Wrath of the Lich King at all. Which is good in my opinion, because it was boring just running into a dungeon, doing area of effect spells on all of the creatures until you got to a boss, and then burning down the boss and then moving on. This is a little bit more slower. You need more strategery.
Now, how was the launch itself? Was it hectic or was it well handled?
It was kind of confusing, to be honest. When you open up the launcher, it kept saying, 12 midnight, there's going to be like parties everywhere and it's going to go live. But unfortunately, little did they tell everybody that was for the Pacific Coast. So it was 3 a.m. Eastern time. So everyone was like online at midnight Eastern time, and they're like, oh, it's not too much later. So I didn't get to see what actually happened. I wasn't sure if they were going to do server reboots to actually implement it, or if they were just going to phase it in. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
Did you hear about it?
No, I don't know either, because there weren't any, at least that I could find close by, any midnight launches near me. And the thing is it was, Cataclysm went live 12 midnight Tuesday Pacific time, which means it was 3 a.m. here. And I thought, there's no way. I don't want to get into a mode where I'm staying up late, like super, super late to start playing. So what I figured I would do was I ordered it from Best Buy, which opens at 8 a.m. And I figured I would just go to bed early, get up early, go pick up my Cataclysm expansion, come home and start playing around 9 a.m. So that's actually what I did. So I was a good 6 hours behind, the rest of the country who had started playing. So I have no idea how the actual launch type thing went, because I didn't start playing until much, much later.
Couldn't you buy the game online?
Well, I'm a WoW geek. Everyone knows that. So I bought the collector's edition, which gives you a bunch of stuff in the box, including, a non-combat pet and some other stuff, and a, soundtrack. And I figured I'm not going to spend the money to buy the collector's edition and pay for the download, because yes, you could order the download and start downloading it and playing, essentially right at midnight or 3 a.m. here.
Yeah, that's what I did. And it wasn't too bad. Most of the files are pretty much up to date with little patches that they did since a couple months ago. And it was only about a 700 or 800 meg download, which I was surprised. I was expecting it to be much larger. But like I said, for the people that just did digital download, I think they kept that in mind and kind of broke it up real nicely.
Yeah, and actually the install was the same. You put the disk in and say install, and it detects that you have the latest files, and it just installed, whatever it needed, or downloaded whatever it needed, whatever it did. So the actual install wasn't too bad. But as far as like servers and stuff, I started playing at like 9:30 in the morning, and I got in right away. I have yet to see a hard server crash. Wrath of the Lich King, the launch of that, the servers were constantly lagging. They were crashing all the time, and it was probably a good week before you could play nonstop for several hours without any issues. They did a fantastic job with Cataclysm, because I have not had any server drops. It's really only laggy when you go into like the main town and there's just tons and tons of people there, but even that's not too bad. Probably the worst thing is if you log in at peak time. Like if you tried to log in right now, you'd wind up hitting a load queue, meaning that there's anywhere from 50 to 300 people waiting to get in because the server's full, and you have to sit there and wait before you can actually log in. That's the worst thing, but I mean, there's nothing they can do about that other than add more servers and try and balance the people out. So
I've noticed, like you said, I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, the performance of the servers is, at least ours is, considering how large and how active our server is, has been really good. And there's only been a couple quest glitches that I've noticed, but usually if I log out and come back in later in the day, it's fine.
There's been some quests that you couldn't finish. It'll say go here to talk to this guy or go here to kill this guy, and you'll go there and the guy's not there. Or you'll go there and you can't kill the guy because some mechanic's not working properly. I've had probably 3 or 4 instances where I had to just skip a complete section of questing because something wasn't working. But that's more of a, like a coding bug. That's a bug with the mechanic of the game. As far as server stability goes, I mean, it's essentially rock solid. I haven't had any issues whatsoever.
Okay, very good. I think we can... Any final words you want to say about the whole thing?
No, I mean, other than it's a lot of fun. The new zones are fantastic. There's an entire zone set out in the desert that is kind of ancient Egyptian themed, and there's a huge, long, like 20, 30 or more quests involving an NPC, a non-player character called Harrison Jones, which is basically it's a whole Indiana Jones type quest where you actually have to get a staff with a thing that you put on top, and it points you to the location of where you need to go. And I mean, it's they took a lot from the movies and they put it in this whole zone is got that theme to it, and it is so much fun. And there's a quest where there's one of the things they did, there's a lot. So World of Warcraft has always been very big on honoring other video games and pop culture references.
Yeah, a lot of old classic games like Atari type games.
There's a quest where you're essentially riding on an ostrich jousting, just like Joust. There's a quest out in that Egyptian type area where you turn into a giant rolling ball of like fire, and you have to roll around and smush gnomes. It's called Gnomageddon, I think, and it's very Katamari like, where you're rolling around, you pick them up and they stick to the ball. And man, there's a bunch of stuff like that, and it just makes the game that much more fun. Oh, and then of course there's the Plants vs. Zombie quest, where you go and it turns it takes over control of your screen, and it turns into a Plants vs. Zombie interface, and you actually, all of the creatures are World of Warcraft creatures, but they look and act just like the monsters and the zombies in Plants vs. Zombies, and you have to go through, I think it's 4 or 5 different quests to, defeat the first wave of zombies, and then you turn the quest in, pick up another one, and you have to defeat the second wave of zombies, and then at the end there's a boss battle, kind of like there is in Plants vs. Zombies, and it's so well done. It is really, really super cool.
I didn't put that reference together. Is that the one in the Oldham?
No, it's actually in Arathi Highlands. It's just south of where Dalaran used to be, the Dalaran crater. There's an area, you can't miss it. When you walk up to it, it looks like a football field, like the Plants vs. Zombies field. You walk up and you can see it. You walk up and there's a guy there with a quest, and you talk to him, he gives you the quest, and then it like I said, it completely takes over your screen and your UI, and it changes it just into this Plants vs. Zombie thing.
Okay.
And it's really cool. And at the end, the quest reward is a non-combat pet that is a little sunflower plant that follows you around, but it looks just
Nice.
like the sunflower plant from Plants vs. Zombies, the one that pops all the little sun balls out for you. But yeah, this game is so much fun. It's going to be months before, I'm back to logging in and playing just to kind of do raids and stuff, and there's not a whole lot left to do. I have 4 level 80 guys that I eventually would like to level up. At some point, I'd like to try like the new goblins. Our guild is, right now we're running a lot of the higher end guys are doing heroics now, and we're pretty well geared. We're hoping to start doing a raid late this week or early next week. So we're going to kind of jump right back into the swing of doing weekly raids and stuff. So that'll be fun. None of us have done a raid yet. We've all just been doing the heroics.
One thing I haven't gotten a good grasp of is how the group leveling and group achievements are really going to work out. Unfortunately, you can't just stay logged in all day and earn experience towards your group, or I'm sorry, your guild level and your guild ranking and whatnot. So that's kind of capped right now. So I'm not really sure how long it's going to take to level up the guild level to get up to the level 25. I mean, we've got a decent sized guild, and especially with the cap, in 1 week alone, we've only gotten to level 3, almost level 4.
We are 77% through level 3, approaching level 4. And it works just like regular experience. You know, from 1 to 1,000 is level 1, and then from 1,000 to 5,000 is level 2, so it keeps getting bigger. So far, though, we haven't... and there's a cap each day that you can earn. Like today it looks like 6.2 million was the cap that you could reach today, and we've already reached that. So far, every day we've been able to reach the cap of guild experience. So at this current rate, you know, we'll keep leveling up every few days, it looks like.
Kind of stinks for someone like me that logs in later in the evening, like 6-7 o'clock, because of work schedules and stuff. So it's kind of hard for someone like me to get in and contribute. So I might be a little bit behind in my...
Well, the thing is, though, is that all you're really behind in is contributing to the guild leveling. Because the guild levels with or without, you know, you personally logging in, and
Right.
you get all of the perks that everyone else does. So you know what I mean? So if you've got 50 people in your guild and 20 of them level the guild up to level 4, well, all 50 people get the perks for that level. Because there's two things with guild leveling. There's the guild level, and then there's your personal reputation with the guild. And both of them have a cap that you can reach. The actual personal reputation for your guild is capped per week.
So maybe I'm not that far behind other people.
No, you're not really that far behind. So if you can only log in once or twice a week, but somebody else logs in 7 days a week and is playing, you're going to be around the same level of reputation as them, because
Gotcha.
It's your personal reputation is on a week cap, whereas the guild as a whole is on a daily cap, but everybody gets the perks for the guild.
Right.
So they did that kind of well, because I mean they know that there's some people who play 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there's some people, you know, with kids and a family, and they can only play a couple hours a day if they're lucky, maybe once or twice a week. And you might eventually, as you get higher in the guild ranks and your personal reputation, you may start lagging behind just because you don't log in as much, and you meaning that person who can't log in all the time. But at least for the earlier levels, you're going to be right there with everyone else, because basically all that means is the people who play all day, every day, they're going to get to their cap for the week quicker. But, you know, you'll get to the cap. You may hit it at the very end of the week, but you'll still hit it. So.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
And I get any final words for the episode to close it out?
No, I don't think so. Other than if you haven't played World of Warcraft, now's a good time. There's lots of cool starting places where you can go, where if you've never played before, the questing is very linear now, and it guides you where you should go. So there's no, I don't know what to do and I don't know where to go. It tells you.
Yeah, with that said, one complaint I've heard from a lot of people was that they can't just go into town and grab a whole buttload of quests, like fill up their quest log and then go out and do a whole bunch of quests. Like you said, it's more linear, so you'll get 1, maybe 2 quests. You have to do that, come back, grab the next quest, and keep going. So I don't see it as a bad thing. It keeps things moving. You progress the stories a little better.
And the last thing I wanted to say is they announced, I think today, that World of Warcraft Cataclysm sold 2.8 million copies in the first 24 hours.
3.3.
Or 3.3. I'm sorry, 2.8 was Wrath of the Lich King. They sold 3.3 this one, and Wrath of the Lich King was the last highest best-selling game ever, which
PC
means
game.
that PC game, which means Cataclysm is now their fastest selling PC game ever. So it is selling very well. After 6 years, it's still going pretty strong. It doesn't show any signs of slowing down.
Actually, now is a really good time to get in if you've been kind of holding off and you've got that level 80 character that is ready to advance. The first few days was kind of a pain in the butt because you've got people on both sides, the Horde and the Alliance, kind of standing in the same spot, fighting for the same thing for 10-15 minutes for one thing, and it was really frustrating. But now that everybody's kind of leveled up to 84 or 85 and they're doing dungeons, it's a lot easier to get into the earlier zones.
Yeah, one last thing is to talk to what Phil was saying is Wrath of the Lich King, there were lots of people who were doing raiding and they had the highest level gear and it was all super awesome and they were killing everything in their path. With Cataclysm, it kind of resets the gear stuff because we were replacing our high-end raiding gear with quest gear that we were getting just by doing quests. So if you, like Phil said, if you've got a level 80 guy, now's the time to get back in because you'll be right there along with everybody else because you'll be getting the same gear they do. So the people who were doing the raids for months and months had this huge advantage in everything that they were doing. Well, that advantage has been essentially eliminated because even the people with the high-end gear are now replacing it with quest rewards. So all you got to do is some quests and you're right there with them.
And it seems like they really want you to start swapping out that gear at like level 82, level 83. It's very apparent. It's very obvious.
I swapped a couple things out at level 80, 1 or 2, and then I started swapping stuff out at level 81. And by the time I was at level 85 and starting to do heroics, I replaced every single piece of raiding gear that I had within the first 4 days of playing. Now, granted, I played a lot because obviously I got to level 85 pretty quick, but every single piece of raiding gear that I had earned over the past year of raiding has been completely replaced by quest rewards and dungeon gear now.
It's pretty easy to make some money too, so if you went in or came out of Wrath of the Lich King with not so much money, I think I've made about 4,000 gold or something just selling quest reward stuff that I didn't end up using and just random drops.
That's it. I'm done.
And there we go. The World of Warcraft episode.
Hooray.
I'm sure it won't be the last.